What's up with it, people's coach? Welcome to the show. Um, lots of good, lots of interesting things that happen. Thanks to Sports for America for putting me on. Lots of things that happen. So, um, interested in past week in sports. So we're gonna get right into it. Whoa, excuse me. Um, Seem like I come on and I'm sneezing. But anyway, um, yeah, interested in past wild card weekend. Looking forward to the divisional games in the NFL. But I'm gonna start with paying homage again to another legend, another retirement, Miss Maya Moore. I spoke about her on my show before. Um, for those that don't know, she basically was dominating the WNBA with the Minnesota Lynx. They won 4 championships. Um, Two-time college, collegiate champion, 2-time gold medalist. And at the height of her career, she stepped away to help her now husband get out of get out of prison. He was serving a wrongful prison sentence. Hats off to her, man. I watched her ball quite a bit, um, and no doubt she probably would have won 6 or 7 of those things. Um, in the WNBA, she was just that good, and she was just that much of a leader on the court that she took her leader into social activism, or prison reform, or fighting the system and stuff like that. Yeah, social activism. I mean, I got to commend that. Got to say that was great. Shout out to Maya Moore. Um, Keeping it rolling along, man. Uh, where do I begin? Basketball. I want to start with the unsung heroes today. Some of the people that I think are on good teams right now that don't get any light. Like, how good is Aaron Gordon? Um, I think, I'm not sold on the Denver Nuggets. It's nothing personal against the team, the players, and stuff like that. It's just that's been an organization that's always underachieved. Remember all the Melo years. They could never put the right pieces around to make true championship runs. So maybe that's switched now since they number one out there in the West with the Joker. I mean, the Joker's the truth, but Aaron Gordon specifically, like he looks like um, he's their unsung hero. Somebody that's down to do whatever it takes to win whatever role he has to play. He carried the Magic, the Orlando Magic, for a couple of years or whatever. But now it seems like he found a good fit playing off the Joker. Um, and with that being said, just the NBA and all is like I look at it like the way the NBA not playing defense no more. So I can get out there, I can give you 10. Nah, I'm playing. I can probably give you a few. I got no hoop skills, but I'm just saying, like nobody playing defense anymore. But Aaron Gordon, man, he looked real good out there. And Drew Holiday stepping his game up when he's healthy. When he's been healthy, you know, um, he was inconsistent to me for a while, but now it seems like he finding his stride and he knows how to fit in right with Giannis. He knows what's expected of him. So he's able to give that little push in the absence of Chris Middleton. Um, and I think that might be, those are two roads, even though Holiday does get light for his defense. I think that is, important to look at those that's playing. And you got to say the whole Sacramento Kings supporting cast. If it's not Fox and Sabonis, it's everybody around them. Um, they really have a team going, like I thought Utah was going to have. Utah is. I ain't gonna say they feel, came back down to earth. They didn't crash to earth. Um, because that's an important thing to point out. Like uh, a lot of time, talent trumps um, effort at times. A little bit of effort and talent usually go a lot further than a whole lot of effort and no talent. In most cases, when we're talking sports, especially basketball, is more so seen there. Not like it isn't seen in other sports, but in the NBA. Um, a couple of the things, a couple of the parodies besides individual players scoring like crazy, teams putting up crazy numbers. Um, I think some of the unsung heroes get overlooked. Some of the players that you really don't mention. The move of Brogdon was huge for the Celtics, but I think in the instance of the Celtics right now, my unsung hero on the Celtics is Jalen Brown because I don't think he's as good as Jason Tatum, but he can be as good as Jason Tatum on any night. And I think him understanding his role within that team structure, it's a beautiful thing to watch. As they continue to move and pile up wins. And another unsung hero, I hate to admit it, y'all, but James Harden. He seems to be understanding that he doesn't have to score as much. He could just feed off Joel Embiid and get everybody else involved. He's starting to, single digits and points here and there. And, dropping dimes, though. He's dropping a lot of dimes. He's starting to be that true point guard. And who would have thought James Harden would come off the rock like that and not, it seemed like, maybe that was just the way he had to play in certain areas, but I give him respect for changing his game up a little bit. Not only, you know, taking a back seat, so to speak, to Joel Embiid, but doing what it is. It seems like Harden really wants to win a championship. I got to give him his props for that. I still don't think Philly going anywhere, but what do I know? I'm just a fan. This is Diehard Fan Show with yours truly, the People's Coach, Cornelius Cole. Shout out to Nerd Focus Energy Drink. Get your brain right and your game tight with Nerd Focus Energy. Um, now, the Darius Miles situation, the Alabama basketball player that was recently caught up, suspected in a murder. A young lady lost her life. A young lady was shot. The different reports come out. First it was, he was being charged with murder because he shot somebody. Then it switched to, oh, he just had the gun after the fact. Whatever the case may be, you got to take a moment and you got to say, sympathies to the young lady for losing her life, that lost her life, and condolences to her family. And man, these kids throwing away their futures is always something difficult to grasp, and to look back and be blessed. I know we all been through some tough stuff, but throwing away the future. So Darius Miles, I'm sending prayers that way as far as you know and everybody that was involved in that situation. But it's tough to see people with so much promise end up um, losing their opportunities. There's so many people that don't get those opportunities. I think sometimes things are taken for granted. But he found himself in that position, um, and I don't know what he's gonna do. Now shift back to the NBA right quick. The Clippers, man. I picked them to come out of the West, but I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going nowhere. I don't think they're going anywhere. Uh, and this is why I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't think the effort is there. I don't think the heart is there. I don't think Kawhi was one of my favorite players because he had that heart, that championship drive and mentality. I don't know what it is, but it just doesn't seem like he nor Paul George really wanted. It don't seem like the Clippers organization wanted. I feel bad now for Teron Lue. I know a couple of weeks ago I was saying, man, all they got to do is turn the corner, but it just doesn't seem like they want to play. It don't seem like they real interested in getting anything done. So I don't know. The Clippers was my pick, so I'm probably going to end up eating some crow on that one. Um, I don't know. Like I said, it's just ridiculous. And and the Phoenix Suns, they whole roster been pretty much hurt. Like anybody who's anybody is hurt. So their season is going down the drain. And of course, I always root against LeBron James. But here's a couple of things I want to say about the whole LeBron situation real quick. The guy, man, you got to give the guy some credit. He putting up some numbers. He doing his thing, playing ball, um, getting out there with the youngins and putting on a show. Um, but that's all it's worth. It's not helping the team any. Um, and you say if LeBron had a little help, where would the Lakers be? In my opinion, they would be right where they are. They just don't have a team, and and 30 points in this era of basketball this season means absolutely nothing. It means nothing because everybody dropping 30. I swear I saw Brunson had a couple of 40-point game or 45-point game, 40-point. I mean, anybody dropping 30 these days. Anybody that joined that's in the NBA dropping 30 these days. So you know, it would be more special um, if those 30 points were helping to win games, but they're not doing anything. Um, you know, LeBron's this coming down at the stretch of the Lakers, the end of his what I'm considering the end of his Lakers career. It's starting to look like Kobe. Man, I just hope he just doesn't suffer the injuries that Kobe suffered. But it's starting to look similar to Kobe. But I could just say, yeah, LeBron is not going to work. And I'm bringing y'all this show today from East Rutherford, New Jersey. Shout out! I'm right across from the Meadowlands. For those that don't know, that's where the New York Giants play. Um, the New York Jets play. Um, I'm here, right up the road from New York City. Anyway, um, so I was thinking, what if LeBron was to team up with Luca? Would they win anything? Would that be a cold, potent combination? LeBron, where he is in his career, take the pressure off of him. He ain't got to score. He ain't got to score nearly as much. Just get you something here and there. But his rebounding and his assists could be valuable to a team like that. I mean, I look at stuff like that and say, man, maybe that's something that could possibly happen in the near future. You never know with LeBron, right? But it's just, you know, after what we seen with Tom Brady this past weekend, um, man, you know, but it seems like LeBron still got a couple of years in him. Um, it's just that the Lakers are not very good. They're just not good. I mean, this guy is putting up crazy numbers for his age, or he's putting up crazy numbers, period, that in any other era would mean something. And they meaningless. They meaningless. Like is winning games here and there, beating up on scrub teams, but when you get in there against the top tier teams, it's not even close. I think they 12th or 13th in the standings over there. And you got to keep in mind, if they 13th in the standings, there's only 30 NBA teams. That means that it's only two teams beneath them, and one of them is the Houston Rockets, which is the worst team right now out there in the West. So what does that say? Doesn't say much. But keeping it, and keeping it rolling. Um, the Memphis Grizzlies, I talk about certain stuff every week, but for me, the Memphis Grizzlies unsung hero, um, Jaron Jackson, man. I mean, when that young man come to ball, it changes everything. And when he comes to ball, it's not on the offensive end, it's on the defensive end. Memphis is one of the few teams that will play a little D right now. Besides, like Milwaukee will play a little D. The Celtics are D up every now and then at stretches of games. Nobody's really playing serious, ferocious D. But certain teams do bring it a little bit. And Jerry Jackson is one of those that brings it on the defensive end. Which shout out to Joel Embiid for bringing it on the defensive end. He might be MVP and Defensive Player of the Year this year if he keeps doing what he's doing. But everybody's in the MVP running right now because everybody's putting up ridiculous numbers. You got Joel, you got Luca, you got the Joker. The Joker might win, his third. It's quite possible. But you got Jason Tatum. I mean, it's just too many to name. You could throw John Moran in there. You could throw so many people in there early on for the running. But you know, um, They still got a ways to go. They passed the halfway point. Most of the teams are past the halfway point. But they still got a ways to go. We'll see how the NBA season turns out in the long run. But you never know what's gonna happen. Um, I think the most interesting thing to me about uh, the NBA right now is probably um, the Kings. The Kings. I talked about them last week, but really, I think the most impressive part is, like I mentioned earlier, teamwork. They all playing together. Like, and that's going to go further. You know, I saw like watching the Celtics play when they're on top of their game. The ball's moving. The ball movement. That's what the Kings have. The ball movement. The unselfish play. Um, the constantly getting the best shot. Getting the best possession every possession. Kind of remind you of what the Warriors used to do. Um, but the Warriors are struggling. Um, they pick it up here and there, then they go back to struggling. They can't get it together at all on the road, and that's gonna hurt them. That's gonna hurt them come seeding for the playoffs. Like um, you think you like to think that the Warriors gonna turn it around, but now you're starting to wonder. They like the Clippers to me. When they gonna do something? Like, because it's starting to get a little bit later than what it was. It ain't early no more. It's starting to get late. So when are these teams gonna do something? Um, I thought Steve, like this got to be one of the worst coaching jobs Steve Kerr has done since he's been a coach. Um, can't see why you can't get it turned around with all that talent. Lots of talent, just can't get it turned around. But I'm going to shoot at the Knicks. I like Barrett on that team. I think um, when he plays well, they tend to do well. I know Bronson. I said I was surprised the impact that he had, but I kind of like Barrett. R.J. Barrett. I think he's gonna be a difference maker on what they do long term beyond this season or whatever. I know he was young when he came in. Um, one of those one and done in college or whatever. So he's just now rounding out into his prime, and I think that's going to help them. I still think, for me, I think the Knicks need to make a move. Um, I think they need to make a trade. I don't know who they need to get, but they need to get somebody. Maybe a Porzingis. Maybe they need to bring Porzingis back. Maybe a Kyle Kuzma or something. But they need something else. Um, they need a piece that fit, and also they need to play defense. Um, the Knicks were notorious for being, the old Knicks were notorious for being hard workers. These guys don't seem to work hard on the defensive end, which you would think they would, since Thibodeau is a defensive mastermind. Um, but still got a little bit of time to turn things around. Um, Biggest stuff that I was hearing today, as far as the NBA, the comparison of Luca, in the draft, the Luca and the Trey Young. I told y'all, and I see if you listen to me, I told y'all, see it take uh, people, it take ESPN to say it for people to believe stuff, but Trey Young, he's not that efficient as a player, like you thought he was. Now, you give them both. You say, hey, they both early in their careers have each made it to a conference final series. Luca last year, Trey a couple of years ago. Um, that's good and all, but for my money, I'd rather have Luca. I think Dallas wanted that deal, hands down. Um, I think they knew what they was doing in that deal. I think Trey Young. Um, I don't think if I have to pick who gonna win a championship first, of course it's gonna be Luca with the Dallas Mavericks. However, I don't think either one really gonna reach that pinnacle for a while. Now I think Luca got a better chance if they put the right pieces around him, but I don't see Trey Young doing anything in Atlanta. And plus, no shade or nothing, but it's Atlanta. When the last time they been in the finals? I'll wait. When the last time they been, relevant to an NBA or prevalent to an NBA finals or anything like that? They always come up short. Some organizations just come up short. And speaking of organizations coming up short, I told y'all what was going to happen to the Chargers and the Vikings. Yeah. If you listen to me, I told y'all those things were going to happen. I picked Jacksonville as well. I told y'all Jacksonville was going to actually beat the Chargers because I knew the Chargers were going to fold. They coach, man. And then here's the crazy part about the Chargers. They fired the offensive coordinator, but keep Staley. Now that gets under my skin because Staley should be out of there. I don't know who you should bring in. I don't even think anything's better than that. I mean, they blew a big lead. They ain't the first team to ever blow a big lead, but with that much talent on both sides of the ball, for them to blow a big lead like that, no, for them not to run the ball in the second half of a game where you up by 27 or whatever at halftime. When you up 27 to 7 or something, you up by 20 points or something at halftime. What are you thinking? You don't run the ball. And then to put it off on the offensive coordinator, who calls the shots? The head coach. The head coach. Yo, the head coach got to accept some responsibility. I mean, they're going to waste, here it is right here, waste another year of Justin Herbert's career if you want to with that. Go ahead, LA, waste another year. I mean, you got a good quarterback, you got a good running back, you got good receivers, even though Mike Williams didn't play. And people say, oh, if Mike Williams would have played, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. For those that watch the games, did you not see what happened? All those 3-and-outs? Because they throwing the ball too much. 3-and-outs. Here's a secret. Run some time off the clock. You got the lead. A few first downs here and there change that whole game. Keep the ball moving a little bit. Run it 2-3 yards here and there. Run it again 2-3 yards. Guess what? You got 4 to 6 yards right there. Then on third down, you throwing for 4 or 5 yards. Play the game. It's like some coaches I don't understand. I don't understand the thinking. But for the Chargers to stick with Staley, it's only going to hurt them in the long run. Mark my words. Like, you're only going to waste a young man's career. I know that he made a statement. I know that Justin Herbert made a statement in support of his coach, which, who wouldn't do that if you ask him a direct question? The guy's still the coach. What he's supposed to say? I don't like my coach. I mean, come on, man. I mean, he got to say what he got to say because the guy ain't fired. Now, as soon as the guy is fired, then the tone changes. And speaking of that, Derek Carr, man. Derek Carr, I saw a statement that Derek Carr said something about it'll be good to go to a city and possibly win, where the fans care. After he had already said that the fans, gave his well wishes to the fans of the Raider Nation. Here's my thing. Derek Carr was never that good. And it doesn't matter where he goes. He's only going to get you so far. Now, I said last week is better places where he can go and he can thrive. Yes, he can thrive. But if you're looking for him solely to get you over the hump, that's not going to happen. But I do have a scenario about the Raiders. The rumors are being kicked around that Brady may go. That Brady may go to the Raiders. Here it is right here. If Brady went to the Raiders, it's only to help. It's only to help. His former quarterback coach / assistant coach out, Josh McDaniels, to save his career or something. That's the only way I can see Brady going there. The Raiders as a team were let down this past season. It wasn't just Derek Carr. It was the team. I mean, Devontae Adams, he shined a little bit. But when you force feeding the guy the ball, when you throwing the guy, all those passes a game and he catches 10 of them, I mean, he's gonna thrive. He's shine. I mean, that's I'm not even impressed with that. It's all fluff stuff. But where was the defense? Where was the defense? But I will say this: if the rumors are true and Brady really does want to go to the Raiders, I say, man, look at the cojones on that guy. Look, I mean, you at your age, he gonna be 46 going into that season. You want to go over there and play against the best right now, Patrick Mahomes. You want to go to the same division as Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Really don't make sense. to a person like me, but it kind of makes sense from a standpoint the competitive side. I totally understand that. To be the best, you got to go beat the best, and why not go play the best 2 times a year? I guess, if that's what Brady really wants to do, you got to say, man, at his age, what he's trying to do, he's trying to show off. When I think it's easier paths and better teams, better selections for Brady if he still wants to play and not in Tampa Bay. And if he left Tampa, what would Tampa do for a quarterback? Um, what would he do for a quarterback? And um, it's just something to ponder. What would he do for? What would he do? I mean, what would Tampa Bay do for a quarterback? Who would they replace? And what is Bowles going to do as far as coaching styles? Byron Leftwich was a letdown this year. Um, Talking about that game, the Bucks, well, they were 8-9, so I'm not gonna go in too hard on them. They was 8-9, and they showed 8-9 worth of work out there on the field. Shout out to my Cowboys. There was a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's too much pressure. Oh, they won't be able to do it. They won't." So you get to silence the critics for a week, but we still got some more ball to play. But back to the whole Tampa Bay thing. They went all in for a championship Brady's first year. They came back with pretty much the same people, just a few pieces here and there. But then there was a lot of injuries this season. Divisional round beat down last year. I mean, not beat down, but loss, close loss. And then this year, a beat down in the wild card round. Um, haven't we seen that before from Brady-like teams, though? That sounds like the New England Patriots, right? Except for those few years where they won every other year or whatever. But, that sounds like of them. You remember they went like almost a decade without winning, but that sounds like the typical Tom Brady stuff as far as the way things pan out for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But they need to do something. I thought that defense was a letdown for Tampa Bay. Bowles supposed to be a defensive mastermind, but that defense didn't come with anything. I mean, those guys were getting pushed around. Um, you let little CD Lamb push you around, something wrong. Um, these guys were big, fast, and strong, and now they just didn't look it. They just didn't play like it. Didn't seem like their hearts were really in it. But credit the Cowboys for taking the heart out of them. And how good is Michael Parsons when he plays every down? How good is Michael Parsons when he brings it? I got to give that young man credit. I mean, he put a lot of pressure. Brady was throwing the ball early. Brady was not trying to take any hits. Only 2 sacks in the game, but he did his thing. Michael Parsons, it seemed like he was constantly, when he passed rush, he was constantly close to Brady or getting at Brady. Very rarely you didn't see him in the picture. Um, and what about those New York Giants? I told y'all, um, the Giants. I told you it was going to go exactly the way I said. It went exactly the way I said it was going to go. As a matter of fact, they were going to run the ball all over Minnesota. It was going to be Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley running the ball all over him. But Daniel Jones did pass for 300 yards, though, so you can't sleep on the passing game. But the running the rock, I think, really changed. It really changed a lot of things. And Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. I try to tell y'all, like, my Minnesota friends up there, I always tell them the same thing. As long as you got Kirk Cousins, you're going nowhere. You're going nowhere. Nowhere, people. You got to understand that. You know, Kirk Cousins is not the answer. I mean, Kirk Cousins had a decent year this year. That's not surprising. He had a decent regular season, but you knew when it's for all the marbles, he just never delivers. Kirk Cousins. And I was talking about this earlier in the week on First Formation. I had jumped on and I typed in shout out First Formation. But all I could say on there was you don't throw the ball short on 4th and 8. That shows you the mind state. That shows you where Kirk Cousins' head is. A little bit of pressure in his face. You still gotta go. It could be your last play. It was your last play of the game, but it's potentially your last play of the game. If it's any time to force the ball to Justin Jefferson, that's the time to force the ball to Justin Jefferson right then and there on 4th and 8. You never know. He might come up with it. That's the time to do it. I don't be understanding the thought processes of some of the plays. Now, the Bills getting by the skin of their teeth, man. Yeah, some people feel like because of the Jamar Hamlin situation, they the team of destiny. I don't think so. I think Miami, it was Skyler, or what it was his name, Skylar Thompson or whatever, uh, took them down to the wire. They won by 3 points, 34-31 against Miami. Miami's defense turned it up a little bit. Some mistakes was made, and I think that's the key to beating the Buffalo Bills is that Josh Allen is going to make some mistakes. We talk about Dak making mistakes. We talk about Kirk Cousins making mistakes, but nobody mentions that Josh Allen makes mistakes on a regular. Um, so all that stuff about last year's divisional round game or whatever, him and Mahomes and not getting the ball, it's not going to come down to any of that this year. But it's going to come down to is they going to lose against Baltimore? Cincinnati almost blew it against Baltimore. However, the defense made a good play because Baltimore made a bonehead play. Well, Baltimore didn't make a bonehead play until later on in the game. The clock management was ridiculous. We're going to get into the coaching of things in a minute, but the biggest thing, that play, that play where Hubbard ended up running the ball back 98 yards, is one of the most ridiculous things I ever seen. This guy must have thought Huntley must have thought his arms were super long or something. He tried to jump and stretch the ball out. And you see how short he was? He wasn't like a foot short. He was like a whole yard short. Didn't really understand, forget whatever play is called. I get it, quarterback sneak or whatever. But let the quarterback actually sneak it and get a little closer. What happened to the push from behind or whatever? The stuff that they've been doing nowadays. This man stretched the ball out. He wasn't even close. He must have thought his arms was longer than what they were. I don't know. It was puzzling to me for him to do that right there. Like, it was confusing. But the team that I thought would win won. Cincinnati won that game. They didn't play their best game, but you don't have to play your best game sometimes when the other team going to give you the win. And Harbaugh done took some criticism because of the clock management. Same thing with the Miami game. Some of the clock management coming down the stretch of games was kind of pitiful. Can't get plays called, but on one end you're working with a third string quarterback. But I don't want to hear no excuses. When you're looking at what Brock Purdy doing as a third string quarterback, see, sometimes it does lie on the coaches. It does lie on what's going on. It's like somebody could be yelling, or if you running somebody in, say, "Hey, look, man, we got to get the plays called quicker. We got." Actually, I think they talked to him in their headsets. As a matter of fact, they talk to him in the headsets. Say, man, we gotta speed this along. Hey, man, pay attention to the game. Pay attention to the clock, the play clock. Pay attention. I mean, for real, those types of things are key. But obviously, unless the headset wasn't working for Skylar Thompson or something, I don't know. It's just puzzling how you blow games like that. So on the other side of things, how good of a coach is Doug Peterson? I mean, the Jags, okay, they flipped it around. They only had a 9-8 record, but they won their division. They came all the way back, won their division. They stuck with it. And Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions in the beginning of that game. And still can't. I think that was just, it had a lot to do with understanding that the other team was going to give you some chances. So stay focused, stay ready. And a coach keeping his quarterback's head in the game, but keeping his team prepared for whatever and not giving up on the game, understanding that it's 60 minutes. And speaking of 60 minutes, I got a little bit excited Saturday with the 49er Seattle game because I was impressed at Seattle playing so tough early on in the game. They played well early on, first half, had the lead at halftime, and then San Francisco came out like a whole different animal. Like, they came out like, but Seattle was still doing pretty well at first. And then all it took was like a sack fumble or something. All it took was a play here and there. Then all of a sudden that defense came to life, the offense came to life, and it was just like an avalanche. It was an avalanche on. It's like they just rolled all over Seattle. Seattle, that was disappointing in the second half of that game. but the better, more talented team won. The team that was expected to win the game won the game, and I thought Seattle would have at least kept it close and maybe had a chance. Uh, but the highlights for me for Seattle would have to be DK Metcalf. That guy's pretty good. If you get him the ball, you know, more, if he gets more touches, who knows what could happen. But it wasn't left up to him. They came with that same pressure. The 49ers found that stride that they had against them on that Thursday night game a while back. Um, I just thought Gino would have kept it close, but it was no keeping it close. Um, Christian McCaffrey, um, it's going to be hard to contain whatever San Fran throws at you at the moment. But um, I wouldn't say they unbeatable because my Cowboys are going to actually beat them, by the way. But I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the things that you take away from all the games is the usual suspects. The usual suspects are there. So Mahomes gets to match up against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, it's easy for me. That one's easy for me. I think Mahomes is going to win. But before I get into that, aren't we sick of Aaron Rodgers? Sick of that guy. Every time you watch a sports show, or listen to a sports podcast, it's something that Aaron Rodgers has said, or what Aaron Rodgers. Who cares at this point? I said that earlier on. Who cares at this point? Like, yo, he gonna retire every year. Brett Favre, he Brett Favre the second. You know, Brett Favre did the same thing for a long time. I mean, and this guy doing the same thing. He know he's not gonna retire. I mean, what is it worth? And now people was making a big deal. They was criticizing him heavily today. The most of the criticism I heard was about some statement that he made when he was talking about uh, being the MVP again, but didn't mention Super Bowls. When does he ever mention Super Bowls? Is that anything new? When does he ever mention Super Bowls? The guy has one Super Bowl. He never talks about winning Super Bowls. He only talks about himself and what he's going to do. It's Aaron Rodgers. So, like, who cares? Who cares about that? Like, because he's only going to do the same thing every time. Just talk about himself. Um, Now, back to this Kansas City Jacksonville matchup. That's going to be a pretty interesting matchup. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Kansas City's going to run away with the game. I think Jacksonville's going to impress a lot of people and keep it close. It's going to. I think they're actually going to scare. Going to get. You know, it's going to. They're going to scare Kansas City a little bit. But I think Kansas City's going to win the game because I think Mahomes. Um, I think Mahomes is just better. And when you look at Philly, all the talk's been about Jalen Hurts shoulder, Jalen Hurts shoulder. If his shoulders hurt more than what he's saying or whatever, it doesn't matter. All that talk about Jalen Hurts shoulder, you see how the mass, see here it is right here. You see how the mass media and all that stuff give teams excuses already. I don't want to hear that because all the talk you've been talking about is Philadelphia is the best team, whatever. So when the Giants go up there, I'm picking the Giants, by the way. When the Giants go up there to Philly and beat them, then what you gonna say? Oh, it was hurt. Hurt shoulder was hurt, so they couldn't play their full offense and all that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear none of that because you say is they the best team. You said they was the best team. Best teams figure it out, right? They figure it out. They figure some way out. Jalen Hurts is gonna play. If he's on the field, then that means that he could go. He was ready to get out there and get it. Ain't no excuses. It's like no excuses. I actually think the reason why I actually think the Giants are going to win is not because of Jalen Hurts' injury or Jalen Hurts is going to play a good game, but I just think Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are going to play a better game, and I don't think because I never thought that the Philadelphia Eagles defense is all that. You take away the sack factor, which is not going to be a huge factor in this game because Daniel Jones going to run. He going to run the ball probably more than he going to throw the ball in this game or whatever. He going to take off and run with it. So I don't really think sacks are going to be as big of a deal in this game. So now you're going to have to see can you shut down a potent run offense, and I just don't think Philly gonna get it done. I think the Giants showed you what they did to Minnesota. Even though Philly's a better defense than Minnesota, I still think the Giants. I'm giving it to the Giants. I think the Giants are gonna win a close one. Um, it's gonna be a good game. Um, I also think it's gonna come down. I like Dabo. I like Dabo as a coach better than I like Sirianni right now. That's just the truth of the matter. I think when it comes to the coaches, one coach is going to play to his strengths. Another coach is going to say, "Oh, my quarterback's a little hurt, so we're going to try to mix some stuff up." And the first team that normally in these kind of games, I always said, take it from me, the people's coach. The first team that blinks, and in my mind blinks when you start going to trick plays. The first team that run a trick play probably gonna lose, and I don't see the Giants run no trick plays. So that's gonna be the Eagles. The first team that run a trick play gonna probably lose. You ain't pulling out tricks for nothing. You know that expression, pulling out all the tricks. You ain't pulling out tricks for nothing. I mean, for real. Uh, and in other games, um, before I get to the Cowboys, you know, um, I just got to put it out there. Um, that's going to be a classic matchup, but I think the other classic matchup is going to be this Bills and Bengals. I think Joe Burrow um, and Josh Allen are going to put on a show. And the reason why I'm going with the Bengals, so with it, the reason why I'm going with the Bengals is because I think the Bengals are just a little bit better. Sup with it, money bags. I think it was just a little bit better. Just a little. I, from a perspective, I think they got the better. They saying Buffalo got the better. Nah, I think the Bengals had a better defense, and I think their defense is going to show up in the most crucial moments of that game, and that's going to be the difference. And like I said, Josh Allen going to turn the ball over a couple of times. I mean, he got the best arm in the game, but the best arm in the game don't mean is you got the best mind or you always make the best decisions. Sometimes I think he relies on that. So a fumble here, there, even with him tucking and trying to run the ball, or you know, an interception. You think the Bengals going to win the Super Bowl? You went all the way to the Super Bowl. Bengals going to win the Super Bowl. Uh, I think they're going to beat the Bills, but I think it's going to be. Here's my thing: AFC Championship game money bags. I think it's going to be uh, KC and Cincinnati Part Two, and I think they're going to come. I think the Bengals going to come up short this time. I think Mahomes going to get them this year. Um, yeah, I think Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to go ahead and get them this year. Um, but in that game, if the Bills, if the Bills can win that game, because Stephon Diggs had a really huge game, and I don't see the Bengals allowing Stephon Diggs to have a huge game. Um, they're going to blanket him, force Josh Allen to run and do other things with the ball, um, which leads me to the Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. All I keep hearing is how the 49ers are going to run the ball all over. I want them to run the ball. If you Dallas, you want them to run the ball. You want them to run the ball. Simple as this. I've said it before and I'm still going to stick with it. Running the ball does not put up points. Running the ball is going to get you 3 points. All I got to do is tackle you here or there. Running the ball don't get you points. It does not put points on the board. It's like, yo, you could run the ball up and down the field, but if I make one tackle behind the line of scrimmage, at some point you're gonna have to throw the ball. So I prefer them to run the ball. That means that Kittles ain't catching the ball. That means that Debo is ineffective. So I'm with that. If you're gonna run the ball all over us, then yeah, run the ball all over us. I dare you. I mean, that would be beautiful right there. You talking about the strength of the Cowboys is just the pass rush, and yeah, we bring pressure and we played a lot more physical. And all this talk about San Francisco is the more physical team. It's gonna be a good game. I'm going with Dallas because I think on it than Purdy. If it does come down to having to pass the ball, but like I said, I want the 49ers to run the ball, and the 49ers are known to run, uh, trick plays. So it's like, why beware of the trick plays here and there, and put some real pressure on Purdy and see what happens. I mean, those are the things that I want to see. I want to see what happens with the pressure when it's time to put some pressure on them, and it's time to light them up a little bit. Um, at the key points of every game, all these games that's coming up, it's gonna be something real. It's gonna be something really, really different this year than what you've ever seen. As far as we've already seen a little glimpse of it early on in the wild card week, but this week you're gonna see that everything that the analysts, the experts, and all that stuff tell you just ain't necessarily true because the players have to go out there and play the game. And nerves can be something. Nerves can do something. Like nerves can do something to you. Ask Trevor Lawrence, ask Josh Allen, you know, ask these guys about the nerves here and there. And you can say you blocked out the noise. You can say you didn't pay attention to whatever, but you know what's the what. And I think that each team is going to have to bring it. We can talk coaches specifically. Um, do I think McCarthy's a better coach than Kyle Shanahan? Um, Not necessarily, but kind of, sort of, because Kyle Shanahan done been to the Super Bowl how many times? One time, didn't win it. They ain't got nothing to show for it. NFC Championship game, couldn't get over the hump last year. Got beat by the Rams. I mean, I just see just good enough but failure. So I'm looking for the same thing to happen in this divisional round against the Dallas Cowboys. I'm looking at it this time. I just feel like San Francisco may have the better team on paper, but I think the Cowboys have something to prove. And as long as they can keep that chip on the shoulder, they're gonna win. So I'm gonna recap real quick. I'm telling you, I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs in a close one. I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals in probably another close one. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm taking the New York Giants. That's my biggest upset. My biggest upset is the New York Giants. I know by the numbers, the Cowboys beating San Fran and San Fran is going to be considered an upset. But to me, the Giants are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, that's pretty much what I see about it. Now I want to talk a little bit about the some of the off season moves, my early off season thoughts. You look at everybody talking about Lamar and the Ravens and all this stuff. Well, I told y'all a few weeks ago that I didn't see him really being a Raven, and I don't blame him if he's not a Raven. The Raven gonna try to they're gonna franchise tag him, and then maybe they'll trade him. But really and truly, Lamar is not the biggest story to me. Um, Neither is what Aaron Rodgers does. Um, so man, they yeah, the Patriots. Off-season moves, money bag. That was one of my off-season thoughts is that they move away from Mac Jones and they get in the running for another quarterback. Which Bill Belichick is stubborn. He might not do it, but it might be in it might be in their interest to check into someone like a Derek Carr. I think if Derek Carr went to the New England Patriots, then they might have a chance to win a Super Bowl. With, of course, get an offensive coordinator. Um, get an offensive coordinator. I think the only place Derek Carr can go where he could be turned into a winner, because he wouldn't be asked to do a whole lot. Now the Patriots do need a couple of receivers. I like what Myers did, but they still need a big name receiver or something. Or no, they need a tight end, which is what I was going to say. As far as Tom Brady offseason moves, he needs to go somewhere and get with a tight end. He said Brady maybe. Well, Tom Brady coming back, that would be a sweet swan song, right? Him and Bill, maybe they can ride out together. But um, they got a decent tight end. But Brady needs to go somewhere where there's a tight end, and that's why that's the Raiders might be a good move for him because they got Waller. They got Waller and Adams. I mean, but he needs a tight end. What he didn't have in Tampa Bay this year is a tight end. He played Brady tight end and slot receivers. If you don't have those quick, the big tight end that can eat up the middle of the field, and a quick receiver that can turn around and catch those quick passes real fast, with the injury to Godwin and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I don't know if Hunter Henry necessarily fits that bill for what Brady would need, unless he could, unless he could talk Gronk into coming back. Like I said, Miami, um, yeah, if they had Gronkowski, I think I agree with you there. I agree that if they had Gronkowski, that would have made a difference. Um, I think it would have made a difference in what they had going on. But uh, Grunk, I think Grunk might be done unless the right situation pops up. Which, by the way, I heard Grunk talking noise to um, Aaron Rodgers about, don't you want to win championships? You talking MVPs? Don't you want to win championships? Take it from a champion that this guy don't want to be a champion. But other offseason moves that I could possibly see. Um, Tennessee. I could see Tennessee go and get a quarterback. Don't know who it might be. It's going to be a few on the table. Maybe they make some trades and try to get in the draft, try to get a quarterback in the draft. Do what Pittsburgh did. Which offseason moves for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh need to do something about that defense. They need some complementary pieces to go with Watts and Minka Fitzpatrick over there. They need to put some pieces out there. Other moves that probably need to be made. Well, Cleveland, the Browns invested in all of they put all their chips in Watson. Uh, yeah, but the Vikings are not going to step away from Kirk Cousins. I don't see them separating from Kirk Cousins right now. I think they're going to give him another shot because that's what Minnesota does. Take it from me, a former resident of Minnesota, this is what they do. They gamble on the wrong quarterback time after time. Except for when Bridgewater. Bridgewater was that guy until he got hurt, and I think they would have went far if he never would have got hurt. But moving on from him, the Kirk Cousins move. They overpaid Kirk Cousins to do what he does. So it'll be interesting to see what Minnesota does. But I don't think Minnesota's problem is necessarily on the offensive end. I think they need to get a few more defensive pieces to shut down, so it doesn't come down to Kirk Cousins having to make a decision. If you don't put him, if the defense doesn't put him in that position where he has to go and score or go and get points at the end of a game, I think that'll make a difference for them. So they should look more on the defensive end. And I also think that the Jets are going to be looking for a quarterback, but there's only so many quarterbacks that are going to be out there. Now, here's an interesting thing. If Aaron Rodgers was to leave Green Bay, where would he land? Where would they trade him to? And I'm looking at maybe the Jets, maybe somewhere, maybe Carolina. The Carolina Panthers, they got an interesting situation because they can probably ride with, if they keep Steve Wilkes, they might be able to ride with Sam Darnold. But I would want to get away from Darnold and try to get us another quarterback. I don't know who they would go and get, but because they were right there. I think their record didn't indicate it, but I think they were right there. And the Saints are another interesting one. There's only so many quarterbacks to go around. And if the Saints would have listened to me, they would have won more games by just making the game ugly. You see what Daniel Jones is doing? That's the same thing they could have did with what's his name, Taysom Hill. That's the same thing that the Saints could have done with Taysom Hill. Um, to the 49ers, I don't think the 49ers job is going to be open for him to go to. I mean, to be honest, I think Brock Purdy has proved himself worthy of at least, a serious look at that position. I think Aaron Rodgers, I think he might be too expensive to fit with the 49ers unless they do a whole lot of juggling or something to make that move. So that's why I look at somewhere else. But New Orleans had a chance to at least be in the running with Taysom Hill this season, but they didn't want to listen to me. They didn't want to Tim Tebow the situation. They didn't want to Daniel Jones the situation. I don't understand why. But for me, what's his name? Dennis Allen got to go. Like go back to being a defensive coordinator. You had a good defense, but your offensive coaching was not that great. I mean, putting together an offense, maybe because Winston got hurt, but how far were you going to go with Winston? Um, I just don't think it's enough quarterbacks that's going to be available. Veteran quarterbacks that's going to be available for people. And before I wrap this show up, shout out to Sports for America for putting me on, by the way. Um, but before I wrap this show up, I wanted to take a look at specifically the the coaching jobs that are available right now. Um, Everybody keeps looking at this one coach like he's the only thing out there. I've heard D'Amico Ryans might get a couple of looks. I talked about it a little bit last week about certain coaches that should get looks. But now I'm worried after this season of what happened in Tampa Bay. I don't know if specifically I would be looking at Byron Leftwich because I would have to question that because even though he's just an offensive coordinator and he's not the head coach, 66 passes for a 45-year-old quarterback. Come on, man. Find a run game. Like any kind of run game. Yes, the best coach in the game is definitely Bill Belichick. He's the go-to coach. He's the go to the NFL. And I love John Madden as well. I love John Madden as well. I think John Madden is um, I think John Madden was one of the best. That's why he got the video game. I even think he was one of the best sports broadcasters that you ever saw, sports commentators, or sports analysts that you ever seen with John Madden. I think Bill Belichick is a mastermind. My only problem with Bill, I'm gonna keep saying it, is that his stubbornness, his unwillingness to bring in a stranger as an offensive coordinator hindered him this year. Going with guys he know like Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, guys that always been with him. You know, thumbing his noses at giving some of these other young guys a shot or whatever. And like I said, I also want to know when Steve Check is going to as a head coaching prospect. Now that's going to be interesting to see. But it's certain with these jobs is open. It's like 5 or 6 jobs open for head coaches. I don't understand why Carolina is looking for a coach. Just like I don't understand why the Chargers are not looking for a coach. But all this talk about one guy. Sean Payton is one guy. It's more jobs open. So the rest of these guys should be prepared. And I'm wondering if Eric the Enemy will get a real serious look this year, a real good look. And the team that I didn't mention is my hometown team or whatever. Born and raised Houston, Texas, man. you know, um, I just have nothing to say about Houston Texans right now until they do some stuff at the top and make some change at the top. I'm just not even interested. It doesn't even really matter what they do. I feel bad for whatever quarterback end up drafting in the draft. The only way I would say anything good about this now, if Sean Payton went there, then that would give them the PR boost they need to spend, like a publicist or something. So if he went there, that would make a difference. That would make a difference to me if they got Sean Payton. I think that's the only way. They need somebody like that. Like they need somebody name brand to come in there to prove that they are about trying to win and they not about all the BS that they've been about. Is my point. Um, yeah. So it doesn't matter who they draft. It doesn't matter what until they get their coaching situation straightened out. And they should have got rid of their GM, but they kept them. Don't really understand. The Cardinals job, that's another job I wouldn't want. And that's how I'm gonna end this show. The Cardinals head coaching job is a job that I wouldn't want. I don't think any coach would want to touch that job because Kyler Murray had too much power. Which is why they bring in a new GM, and the first thing he says is no egos over here. We know who he was. Kyler Murray threw a fit. He got his way, And that didn't hinder Kingsbury. I didn't think Kingsbury was that good anyway, but it did cause a problem. So I'm gonna leave y'all with this as a diehard fan. Go Dallas, beat San Fran in San Fran, but it's going to be a classic game. Thanks again to Sports for America for putting me on. Shout out to Focus Energy Drink. Remember, get your brain right and your game tight with Nerd Focus, the energy drink. Y'all have a good rest of this Wednesday from East Rutherford, New York. Today is yours truly, Coach Cornelius Cole. There you go, Alice. That's what I'm talking about.